Hello, everybody. Welcome to Divine Disbelief. This is episode. What episode is this? 35. We are we are excited to see you, and no need to change or to check on your television sets or whatever they used to say. It is true. We are on two screens, and we are in two different places. We're still in the same zip code we were before. So those of you that wonder because we're on different screens that what's going on with them? No, we just figured this was going to be easier for everybody, including us. And so this is again, we are like we said, we wanted to come back and we wanted to make a few changes, and this is part of that. So welcome in. We are happy to see you. It is 10 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And that means that if you're in Central Time, that's what time it is. If you're somewhere else, well, I mean, you do the math. Um, yes, if you're in Greenwich Mean Time, it's, I don't know, it's like 5 a.m. So who knows? Uh, I think it's a 6 hour, they're 6 hours ahead of us, but by anyways, we are happy that you are with us. We really, really are. We have a lot of really great stuff we think that we have put together here over the course of the past week. I'm going to call it a week. I'm going to jump in. I forgot to open up the the chat box thing that I'm supposed to be opening up. Oh, I apparently have to. It wants me to download it, and I'm not down with that. So I'm just gonna look at it on the Google Chromes. There we go. And it says it is waiting for new messages. So awesome. It looks like we have 3 viewers, and it is great to see every single one of you. I believe that it's also from all of them. It look like they're from your Facebook, Susan. So congratulations. Sean said he told me religion was bullshit. So appreciate that, Sean. No, that's from actually, I'm sorry, that's from Periscope, not from Facebook. So don't know who Sean is, but appreciate the comment there, Sean. Well, it has been a very interesting past week for us. It has, and not just when I say us, I mean those of us who come on and come on to really do things like this. We feel like we feel like secular America is rather ignored when it comes to news, when it comes to opinion, when it comes to people making shows. Thomas said, I can't hear Susan. Well, I yeah. If you can't hear Susan, please let us know. Because I don't. Whenever I did this earlier, it worked. We recorded, at least I think so, and it worked. Yeah, I hope so. I certainly hope so. So, whatever it might be, I certainly hope that the audio works and everything. Because we had desktop audio, the chat box, everything turned on the way it's supposed to be. Nope, no Susan, says Josh. Okay. See, this is why we're here. This is why Arrow says can't hear Susan also. Appreciate all of you. Sandy Swan saying I also can't hear Susan Turpin. The man is I do not know how to do that. If it's just a display capture. Yep, there's not. That is correct. Great, good job. What's kind of funny here is that we had done this, right, and we recorded a couple of things, and we could hear each other, and it recorded properly, and now of course not. So it's well, Susan, they can't hear you. I know. See, that is, yeah, I know. Which I'm very very sorry. We have to learn to read lips. Thanks, Josh. Difficult to read Susan's lips because of where her hand currently is. I do like your I do like your new Funko Pop in the background there. That's really cute. A couple of stormtroopers. Um, Now, see, I am beside myself because I don't know. Um, let me add some audio here. All right. Um, sure. I'm gonna call it. I don't know. Default. Sure. Okay. Um, she needs a whiteboard. Thanks everybody for that. I am doing my best to. You cannot change these things when you're live. You know what? It says you can't change the recording settings when you're live, which I guess makes sense. You could, you could whiteboard it. It's more like my thing that I do. Mic auxiliary. Let's call it. Default. Sure, we'll call it default. And I don't know, Susan, if you're. And again, we still have 7 people watching me try and figure this out. I appreciate every single person that's doing that. Most of which are from Facebook, by the way. So you guys are all great. I'd like to point out that again, we had this working, even recorded something, and it worked. I wonder if nope, because if I do that, that's not going to work. Because if I take you over to the other side, it's not going to work. I'm louder. Yeah, thanks, Josh. Yeah. I am much clearer. I don't know. Well, darn it. Now I'm sad. Now I am. Yeah, they cannot hear you typing. That is correct. Oh, this is going to be like the shortest video we've ever done. I call it Realtek Audio, and then Realtek Audio. Still nothing. I throw up my hands, and just like in the book of Matthew and nowhere else, I'm going to wash my hands of this. This one.
Can you change the setting?
Okay.
Yeah, like, can you hear me now?
I don't know if they can hear you or not. Susan Mime.
It's showing.
Yeah.
It's showing. So
is
that's
it?
Good.
Where is it showing at?
It's showing on your when you look at the speaker's Yeti stereo microphone.
Yep. Whoa.
Then it's showing up in the thing. So that's always good. Maybe a restart. We sound from Susan. There. You might just have to. So we hear her. Yay. You might have to turn me up.
Yep. I'm gonna have to.
Boop.
I muted you for a second.
So let me.
There you go. There you go.
How about that?
Okay.
How much can we hear me now?
Her audio's lower.
Audio's
it should be catching up.
Yeah. We're gonna see.
Yeah, the audio should be catching up.
I can hear the cat.
Is she meowing?
Yes, she is meowing.
Well, I couldn't.
Because she's a cat.
I could not hear her.
Better. Yay. Thank you, Sandy, for letting us know. We really appreciate y'all.
Every single one of you for letting us know that. So.
Yep. Thank you. So now that y'all can actually hear me,
I can also put onto the Stream Deck that. So I'm going to make sure that I do that in the future. Again, I don't know what it would have been earlier whenever we were recording and doing some demo stuff. I have no idea. Because it sounded good then. But anyways, you know what? No matter what, we are happy that you are here. And
yeah, thank y'all.
As I was saying, Susan, you absolutely, the Funko Pop behind you with the Stormtroopers is gorgeous.
It is.
It is. It's really nice. It's really, really beautiful. And then there's another one that's right behind me. It's over here. That it's also rather amazing.
Giant Han Solo.
That was the one I got you for your birthday, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I got
that was the one that was
Han Solo
delayed.
and the Millennium Falcon for the birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
it's a ginormous pop. It is humongous. I don't know if people realize how gigantuan that pop is. It's
pretty
huge.
large.
Yeah. I love it.
Appreciate Joshua Fisher, trial and error and things like that. Yes. Yeah. So as we were saying, thanks, Susan is we are still in the same vicinity of one another. She's just across. She's across the way. And in a different
room.
Yeah, a different room there. And so we are going to be streaming like this for at least the foreseeable future. We have some more edits coming up that we are looking to get taken care of. And we're even building some of our own stuff. So if you are not already, I believe we have a Patreon, right?
We do have a Patreon. We have no patrons at the moment, but we have a Patreon. So it's patreon.com/divine disbelief. If you want to help us build the thing that I engineered. That's a soundproofing thing. I was so proud of myself for that. You have no idea.
She is.
Great. Loved it. So you want to start off with some news this evening?
Yes. And we'll make sure we put the Patreon stuff, because we think that if you are here this evening, you are going to really enjoy what we are putting together. So, we do want to start off with some news. Where did I find that? Because I couldn't get it on the Boston Globe. So where did I find it? I forget.
It was on Friendly Atheist. So I can message it to you really quick so you can find it if your messages are open.
I believe they are open. Well, I don't know.
I had to go find it myself, actually. I went ahead and just opened all of the articles just in case. Now if my messages will open for me.
While we're looking that up, did you know there's Rick Wiles, who we have spoken about more than a couple of times on the show. You spoke about him last week. He came out earlier today. He didn't come out. I mean, that's maybe in the future.
Yeah.
And he said that, the Iowa caucus, the Democratic Iowa caucus, which has seen more than a few hiccups over the course of the past week, which apparently now is over. I don't know. And Rick Wiles came out earlier today, and he said, guess who he said is behind the Iowa caucus fuck-ups?
Jews.
Yes.
Of course.
He is so
of course, because
anti-Semitic.
Everything is... Oh, God, I know. Everything is a problem with Jewish people, according to Rick Wiles. He has he's so predictable. You know exactly what he's going to say and what he's going to blame things on. Like, there's no winning with that guy. There really is none.
And then in Boston earlier today, I think it was earlier today, a judge said, "Hey, Boston City Hall, you don't have to fly that Christian flag. Don't you worry." So that was really nice. Was happy to hear about that because, again, separation of church and state is rather important in our country, at least. We want to think that it should be important everywhere, but the separation of church and state it's always nice when it's reaffirmed, especially in current times where radical Christian fundamentalism is trying to continue the wedge document type of attack on our constitutional values. So, and I say that constitutional values differently than Republicans currently do, because I actually care about the Constitution, except for you, Mitt Romney.
Accurate.
Mitt Romney, man. Look at that. I never thought I'd agree with a Mormon. But let's see here.
That's true. Yeah.
I am trying to find.
I just emailed it to you.
Did you? Okay.
I did. Yeah. I just sent it to you.
All right.
Via email. So as you may have noticed, we have a very interesting show title this week. What did I title it? Peter picked a peck of pickled pences, right?
Yes.
Say that 5 times fast.
I don't want to say it 1 time slow.
I was very proud of that one. I actually thought of that one a few days ago, so I was just I made the little thumbnail for it and everything. Super proud of myself. And as y'all also may have noticed, there were we did a little bit of rebranding in terms of logos and what everything looks like. We still stuck with the angel and devil thing because Nathaniel is still an angel. But we wanted to stick with that little theme there. And what? You're looking around like, wait, what?
Me?
Yes. Yeah, we still stuck with that because I really liked that idea. I really just like stuff that's very simple, and we still have the fan art from Gaelic Knox. They were generous enough to do some fan art for us, so thank you very much, Gaelic Knox. We still really, really appreciate that. That's still one of my favorite things in the world.
Yeah.
Is that fan art that they did. So I'm very, very happy. So, did you get the email?
I'm certain I did. Is this is it the Catholic Church one?
Yes.
Spending. Yes, I got it right.
Class action lawsuit.
Yep. There it is.
Yeah.
Love the duo cartoon above. Yeah, absolutely.
It's great, right? Yeah.
It really is.
That's the one that Gaelic Knox did for us.
Yep. So I was just speaking about Boston. So let's go right down the road to Rhode Island, where David O'Connell, this sounds, like he's from Rhode Island, so he's one of the 5 people that live, I think, in the 5x5 square that is Rhode Island. He is suing.
Isn't DFW bigger than Rhode Island?
It is. DFW is bigger than Rhode Island. We also have more people in DFW than in Rhode Island. But he is suing the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, or, if you will, the USCCB, for what he says, according to him at Meta, is charity fraud. Now, what does he mean by charity fraud? These are always these are always fun to kind of dig into and read. And he said that this is the USCCB has long promoted what's known as Peter's Pence charity to help people that are affected by, quote, war, oppression, natural disaster, or disease, which is great. Now, O'Connell regularly donates to the he does like the 10% thing, or where most Christians just donate thoughts and prayers. He actually donates something meaningful to the Catholic Church. Mm-hmm. And we can say what we will about where the money actually goes and to how many priests are kept in behind the shadows and stuff. But still, apparently they give that money, and it goes to helping those people. Apparently, 2/3 of the money donated, according to the Wall Street Journal, 2/3 of the money has been used to help cover the budget deficit at the Holy See. Now, it's C spelled S-E-E, by the way.
Yeah.
So O'Connell, as you can imagine, not having it. He says, well, dang it, if I'm going to give God his money, then God should get that money. And he says this: the USCCB must now account for itself and the money which it was entrusted, and in the interests of justice, it must disgorge. Such a great word. I wrote that one down.
That's a really great word, yeah.
Disgorge the funds that were not spent as promised. So it's basically, if only 2/3 of it is going to help those charities, then 1/3 of it is going somewhere else. Now, this, by the way, is not uncommon, because if you have organizations where they will actually release the documentation to where saying, okay, well, like if you give something like MoveOn.org, and if you donate to them, they'll actually tell you that a certain percentage of it is going to go to salaries, and a certain percentage of it is going to go to those cool little bumper stickers they have, and which they do, and and then a percentage goes there. In this case, the Catholic charity has been saying, hey, we're giving 100%. But I come to find out that that's not what they're doing. And I mean, far
Not
be
at
it from me to say that a Christian is going to lie and about money. But O'Connell alleges that the USCCB, quote, actively concealed the true character and nature of the Peters Pence collection and made misrepresentations about the specified purposes of the collection. So basically they kept it in the dark, and they took the money and they Robin Hooded it over to who knows where. They're going to steal it from the poor. And go ahead.
Well, I was going to say we know where.
Yes. Yep. Yep. Now, of course, because they're the Catholic Church, they're trying to say, well, you can't look at our books. But much like what the president has done over the course of his presidency, also life, and he said you can't look at the books. Now, it explains, by the way, where the lawsuit actually says where the money is going to, and according to, this is an Italian newspaper, more than $1 million. By the way, if this were not the Catholic Church, I'd have been okay with this. $1 million invested in the film Rocket Man. Yeah, I figured you were going to sing it. I really did.
Oh, I was going to, but I don't know.
But that's not. Let's take it up another notch. 3.6 million. Now, Rocket Man was a good movie, by the way.
Yeah.
This next one, not so great. $3.6 million invested in the movie Men in Black International, which is basically Thor Ragnarok Part 2.
Yeah.
Because the same people are there.
What I'm wondering, did Men in Black International even make $3.6 million? Because from what I understand, it didn't do so hot at the box office. I have no idea.
I can look at it and see. I don't know, but I know that it was not well received. An additional $200 million was invested in luxury apartments in London, so not even in Rhode Island, which again, I don't know if there are luxury apartments in Rhode Island. The show Providence back in the 90s, I don't know that it actually, it seemed like they were a homey type of folks that were doing that. And then, quote, I like this. This just says millions of dollars went to the Malta-based Centurion Global Fund. And by the way, the guy, this is what Meta said. The guy who runs that, the Malta-based Centurion Global Fund, earns millions of dollars in commissions despite actually losing money, 4.61%. And they're asking, by the way, this is what O'Connell, they're asking for anyone who donated to Peters Pence since 2013 to join him in the lawsuit, which is similar to the lawsuit that's already ongoing against the Christian charity Gospel for Asia. And that one, by the way, I'm sorry, that's not ongoing, but that just concluded, and it was settled for $37 million out to more than 200,000 donors. So I like the transparency here. I like the fact that they are being held accountable when they are caught. But that's also for people to understand. This is something that Susan and I have spoken about a couple of different times, with ensuring that the charities that we give to are actual reputable charities, and that we know where the money is going to go. That earlier today, Susan got some Girl Scout cookies, right?
I did.
Yeah, I'm very excited for those.
I fully support the Girl Scouts because they are amazing and wonderful, and they teach all sorts of great life skills to young women. Yeah, I love them. Can't help it.
I see IQ in the chat, and by the way, Joshua Fisher went out and did the Google for us for Men in Black International, and said box office $253.9 million, budget $110 million. So if I'm confused then. If the budget was $110 million US dollars, and they went out and they give over $200 million in production to the movie, what happened?
No. They gave $3.6 million.
Oh, 3.6. What the hell am I thinking?
Yeah,
Thank you.
$200 million was for the apartments in London.
There we go. Yeah. So yeah, it whoops, I just hit the microphone there. it absolutely did not perform well, but also why is the Catholic Church giving money to? Well, first off, aliens, but then secondarily, Rocket Man. You'd think
of all the things for the Catholic Church and Peter's Pence to invest in,
yeah,
like you wouldn't think it would be Rocket Man.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't think that. Yeah, no.
Still a good movie.
I never actually saw it.
Yeah.
I want to see it because it looks really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. From what I understand too, and when I was reading articles yesterday and the day before, from what I understand, if I remember correctly, the firm that has filed the suit is actually a Dallas-based firm.
Really?
That has participated in a lot of class action suits, and not just class action. They do individual plaintiffs as well. And one of them was and of course I found this interesting because I work in the field. One of them was one about State Farm not wanting to pay out personal injury protection benefits to a gentleman who was denied them based on some prior injuries and blah, blah, blah. I found it really, really interesting because, again, I find that sort of stuff interesting. Anyway.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, working for a law firm, that's something that you would find interesting.
Yeah.
So the IQ's Inquisitive Condre IQ says, you don't think they spent $20,000 on a hammer, $30,000 on a toilet seat, do you? Well, who knows?
They probably did.
I mean, remember that the President of the United States went to Florida, and from his, I'm thinking campaign funds, purchased a painting, not a very good one, of himself. So, and he's of the golden toilet. So honestly, I'm not putting anything past these folks at this point, because they are the people that support, more evangelical than Catholic, obviously, but that support this person who is the epitome of gluttony. So, we know what I noticed as well is that the chat box did not show up on.
Oh no,
yeah,
that's not good.
Right. So what we're doing now, I might just figure it out because it's up there. There's a huge. If you're wondering, there's a huge blank spot above my head, and it's black. Right, it's up here. Right. So if you're on the stream,
chat box was supposed to show up.
Right, it's supposed to be up here. And my Adkins says, you guys are here on a Friday. Of all the days to be here. Well, we figured of all the days that people are going to be awake a little bit later in the evening, why not make it a Friday? So
makes sense.
But there's supposed to be a chat box right here, and again, these are things that we thought we had figured out in pre-production.
We did,
This is my fault. So,
but we learned as we go. I feel like that's the best way for us to learn, is just learn as we go.
Absolutely.
And we'll figure it out for later shows. It's totally fine. I dig it.
Let me see if I can.
Yeah.
Either way, so it says hide on stream, hide on recording. I'm just gonna leave it there. I'll figure it out one of these days, or I won't, one of those. But in other news, let's go to Africa. This is my.
Down in Africa.
Thank you, Toto.
I sang that one.
Yeah. So this is in Dodoma, Tanzania. This one sucks, man.
This one's really sad.
Yeah, this one comes from the New York Times, by the way. And it reads this: 20 people were killed and a dozen others injured in a stampede during a church meeting. This was this past Sunday. And they said that it's not, quote, immediately clear what caused the stampede, but it occurred when church faithful were being ushered through an exit so they could walk on what is known as anointed oil. And that comes from the leader of this is Boniface Mwampoza. Now I will freely admit, by the way, that I am the number one person when it comes to fucking up people's names. So I'm not certain I'm sorry to this fucker, but he leads what's
Not
known
considering what he did.
yeah, he leads what's known as the Arise and Shine Ministry Tanzania, which, by the way, is a pretty good name.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
I can.
So he flew out of Dar es Salaam, which is, by the way, in Tanzania as well, and after the Stampede, and led a prayer service at another branch. So he flew out after the Stampede. So he was like, he was there, and people, the Stampede of animals, which I'm getting, there were multiple species of animal, and like you're in Tanzania, giraffes, elephants, wildebeest. Simba knows about that. Well, Mufasa doesn't know. He's dead.
That's true.
His body became the grass. And he left and he said, I'm going to go pray for you elsewhere. So I'm going to send my thoughts and prayers from this airplane. But he actually was arrested after the Stampede. So he basically flew away and he got arrested. And
well, there's multiple reports. There news outlets reported that he just left, but then somebody else said he was arrested.
Yeah, the interior minister said no, hold on, he got arrested, and it was accused of not taking sufficient precautions and of violating the terms of its permit for the meeting, which ran 2 hours later than planned. Now, as far as I know, when it comes to stampedes, they don't have time restraints.
Yeah, right? They really don't. And we can't criticize somebody for running 2 hours later than planned, honestly. We have no room to talk.
No, it's true. We do that. It's also the Pentecostal way. So
that's true.
You have the regular lunch hour rush on Sundays from your Baptists and your Lutherans, right? And then you have the Pentecostal one, which could run anywhere from 3 o'clock to 7 p.m., honestly. And it's lunch rush. True. So, but yeah.
Can confirm.
But the joke there, besides the one I just gave, is yes, Susan's correct. We're 48 hours late. So the police, by the way, are just there. And this is the thing in Africa. Back in the summer, Susan can tell you that I received some followers on Twitter. And they would write me DMs and tell me about people who were cured of maladies because they were prayed over by the son of this dude. And this is in Ethiopia, right? And that this woman who had her entire uterus removed because she had cancerous polyps. Her entire uterus was removed, and she
plopping.
7 years later or something, she got pregnant again, and she just had a little girl not too long, a couple of years ago. And to which I said, "That's not possible.
That is not possible.
You cannot
can confirm have uterus.
Yes, you cannot get pregnant if you don't have a uterus. That's what a hysterectomy is, folks." And this person said no, that she was prayed over and she grew back her uterus. Now I don't know exactly what it means to grow back a uterus. Is that like growing back an arm? Because that doesn't ever happen either.
That does not happen. No.
But I don't. Anyways, but this is like the same type of thing to where these African pastors have taken the American prosperity gospel, which I know you're going to get into a little bit, and taken it into Africa and said, "Hey, this is what we have. We're doing the same thing as the United States. If all of these people can get rich off of this, they have access to the internet." Right, where people can actually research them. We're going to go into these really poor places in Africa where people don't have access even to sometimes running water, and we're going to tell them, we're going to lay hands on them, and they're going to be doing all this stuff, not that isn't basically growing back their limbs, and they've made millions and millions of dollars, and they said we're going to get rid of, like this mentions here, we're going to get rid of your poverty. And all you have to do is pray and give us all of your money. And if you do that, then you will get your money. And then you will, if you give me your money, then you'll be cured of whatever bullshit you have going on with you. And obviously, this is very harmful.
Yeah.
And this was in Pretoria, South Africa. By the way, they do arrest some of these folks, but last year 3 people were killed in another stampede in South Africa during a service led by Shepherd Bashiri, who is the wealthiest preacher in Africa. Now, mind you, he was charged with money laundering and fraud after allegations he had smuggled cases of money out of South Africa on his private jet in February 2019.
That's shitty.
Yeah, and then last year a church in eastern South Africa partly collapsed on Easter, killing at least 13 people and injuring 16 others during heavy rainfall that caused flooding, power outages, and structural damage. So, and that was last April. So, that's last Easter.
Yeah.
And so these, I need to figure out, and this is the dumbest thing, but I need to figure out what animals exactly made up the stampede. This is the most important detail to me.
No. It wasn't animals. It was people.
Oh.
It was people stampeding to get to that anointed oil. I thought you were making a really bad people are animals joke. Like, because people are literally animals in the very literal sense. I thought you were making a bad people or animals joke. No, it was not a stampede of non-human animals. It was a stampede of humans. Yeah. Because this preacher promised them that they would get to walk on this anointed oil, which I don't even know what would the anointed oil even do.
I don't know.
Like, what do they promise that anointed oil does?
I don't know.
Like, yeah, I got nothing.
So literally people
Yes.
stomped on each other.
Yes. That happens. I mean, in situations of extreme panic. Yeah, in situations of extreme panic, that sort of thing happens. It's happened. There was I don't know where it was. But there's cases of, there's a fire in a very, very crowded place and people start panicking and they're getting to the only exit that they see is possible. So they freak out and they're like, oh my God, I don't know what's going on. And they end up literally crushing people to death. It is a thing that happens in situations of extreme panic because, again, humans are animals, literally, in the very, very literal sense. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. So, moving on.
All right, yeah. So now that I've learned something today, and
you're welcome.
And somebody asked me, somebody said to me, wait, I thought your last scope was a couple days ago. That is true. That was my last video. We are still going to restream our podcast, but we're not going to have the same type of interaction. So I appreciate you coming on, though, and for being here with us. So, in the United States, we have a history of making fun of France.
We do.
Yes, we
Friends.
Yeah, who lent us the money? France. Yeah, and we have a history of saying that it's usually in jest, right? But also there are plenty of Americans who say that non-jokingly. Well, guess what? In France, their left-wing elite have been accused of cowardice for failing to speak out in favor of a teenage girl who is facing death threats for insulting Islam. So the 16-year-old girl's name is Mila, has been told by police it is too dangerous for her to return to her sixth form college, which I don't know what that means. I guess college in France.
Yeah, I got nothing.
And she is struggling to find somewhere else to go. That her plight has been ignored by feminist and left-wing groups, which are usually quick to defend women subject to verbal and physical violence. And this is what he says. His name is Richard Malka. He says, "It is the left that traditionally defends secularism in this country. It saddens me that it has not done so in this case." So really, uh, 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 this young girl, she insulted Islam. What did I forget exactly what she said. You probably have it written down too.
Well, so she said just sort of a lot of things condemning Islam. She went on this humongous rant. She said she hated religion, that the Quran is full of hate, that Islam is quote shit, and that it was all okay to say because quote you cannot be racist towards a religion.
Now, mind you, so uh, that pedantry aside, I
Yeah,
don't. Her words are, she's free to say them, and but now
correct.
she's not free of people coming against her, and
Mm-hmm.
especially if you say things. I mean, I've said plenty of things about Christianity, you know, and I've had Christians come back against me. And
Mm-hmm.
mind you, I've toned things down rather a lot over the course of the
Mm-hmm.
past few years. What? I know
Sort
I
of.
am. Oh no, 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 no! I'm not. I'm not the angry atheist. Whatever it might be. I am. I have. I have. I have productive, passionate conversations with
Yes,
many
you do.
Christians.
Yes, you do.
None of them are Trump supporters. Because I can't do that. I cannot abide both of those in one
Yeah,
person.
the
Okay.
ones who are Trump supporters aren't having,
Yeah.
any sort of conversation that are productive. So,
Yeah. And if you're a Trump supporter out there, hey, truth hurts. I know it truth hurts
yeah.
because I know the truth hurts because the president can't say it. And it's productive as it can be, Maya. But the things that she said were the opposite of productive. Now, she
Right.
received death threats, which, by the way, is not uncommon in certain sects of Islam. It's also
Mm-hmm.
not. We received some what do it said to us. So apologies here. I'm going to use a slur that was used against us. So trigger warning for that. We were out at the Steadfast Baptist Church, right? And
Mm-hmm.
those girls in that car, girls,
Yeah.
by the way, none of them could have
Mm-hmm.
been older than 18. Uh, Drove by and said, "Was it said burn in hell, faggots?" Right?
Yeah.
Is that which by the way is not far off from what this young lady has said, and
No.
and we got other things told to us too, and we had a lot of people ask us why we were protesting a church, which
Right.
like, are you protesting Christianity? No, no. Like when we go out and we protest Robert Jeffress, it's not
Yeah.
because he's a Christian or that people are Christians. It's the things that they're saying. And so she's not wrong in that regard either. She's wrong. I would say that she probably took things maybe a little bit far, but the response that she received, she's got death threats, literally people that are doxing her online
Yeah.
and giving her personal information out to people who will try to do these things. And it's unfortunate that you have the people that are trying to do that. And so it's true, by the way. So basically the French versions of the ACLU, the French versions of Human Rights Campaign, and all those organizations are ignoring it completely.
Yeah.
And and
It's really disappointing.
they're turning a blind eye to it. And I don't know why. There's no reason given for that. And it's like, why you need to come to this person's defense, even if what she said could be considered offensive. Which, I mean, let's be fair. If you're a fundamentalist Christian or a fundamentalist Muslim, every fucking thing offends you. Um, but while it may be considered offensive, it's not. It's not a hate crime.
Right.
Responding with death threats, responding with doxing a person online, responding with those things. And harassing her because she spoke her opinion regarding rather barbaric things and sexist uh, uh, disciplines all that are constantly being reinforced inside of Islam, especially in the Middle East. Yeah, you maybe look at yourselves in the mirror and wonder, why are we so mad about this?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, apparently the people who are actually defending her are like conservatives. So that's why they're so upset about like the left-wing groups not coming to her defense.
yeah.
But the only reason that they're defending her is because she, said a bunch of awful things about Islam and Muslims and stuff. So she's like, I mean, or rather the conservatives are like, I mean, we like it when they say bad stuff about Islam, but if she said any of that stuff about Christianity, it would be entirely different.
Yeah, and
for a fact.
Yeah, and I agree with that, and I think she's right to say things about both of the religions. But I think that at that point, but I can also probably guarantee you as well that those left wing factions of feminism and the secular groups would probably be taking defense, and so there's a level of hypocrisy there that also exists in the United States, and so it's not unique in by any stretch of the imagination. It simply is that none of that should be happening with regard to what she's receiving as far as, and I hope that they find proper resolution with that, and where she's safe and has somewhere safe to go, has able to go and get into like school and stuff like that. That's really important. So certainly will do my best to keep up with that. I don't know. All we have is her first name, obviously, because trying to protect the anonymity of the person. Not that she hasn't been doxxed online, but
right.
Yeah.
Is this the one I'm thinking of?
Yeah, it's. I'm gonna skip that one and come back to it because it has to do with the other one. No, I'm gonna come back because it has to do with the other one, the one I told you I was adding. So.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So, David Lane, he's, by the way, what is known as a Christian nationalist.
Yes.
He is in the news again. Well, I call it the news if you want to.
Yeah.
This is very funny. This is from this past week on the 4th, and this comes from Right Wing Watch Peter Montgomery, and he says this. Christian nationalist political operative David Lane is. When I see David Lane, I figure he should have another name. He should have 3 names. David Michael Lane.
They pretty much every single like psychotic person and serial killer does.
Yep.
He might be allegedly.
But he is seeking $22 million for a campaign to boost conservative Christian turnout in 10 battleground states. Let me name these off for you real quick. They're not alphabetical. Florida, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Missouri, North Carolina, Wisconsin, Michigan, Georgia, Arizona, and Iowa. I'm gonna point some things out here real quick. Wisconsin and Michigan aren't battleground states. They're gonna be blue.
No.
But I like the fact that Georgia is on there.
True.
Georgia is closer than people think. Obviously, Arizona and then Iowa. I guess we're gonna figure out. I mean, Iowa. Can they even find the fucking voting booth?
Seriously.
He claims that this. By the way, this is the name. They always have the greatest names. The American Renewal Project increased Christian turnout by 5 to 7% in half a dozen key states in 2016. I don't think so. I don't think that that's true. I don't know how he could substantiate that.
Citation needed.
Yeah. So he views politics as literal. This is the evangelical circles, they call it spiritual warfare. He says that. Now I've actually had people, and one person in particular, who believes, and that I've spoken with on my live streams on Periscope, who believes that Christianity is the American government, and it should be, and that you should not be able to live here and be a U.S. citizen unless you're a Christian. Lane has that same opinion. He believes that it is up to Christians to basically ignore the Constitution and say that separation of church and state should be nullified. He believes it should be Christian 100%. Now, when he says that, he doesn't, as I got in front of myself, they're ahead of myself. When he says that, he means, fuck you, Islam and Jehovah's Witnesses and Buddhists and Taoists and literally anybody probably the Catholics too. Anybody that does, so by the way, Roman Catholics make up the vast majority of Christians in the world. So, it's not just that he wants to get rid of separation of church and state. He wants to do that to create a theocracy of Christian fundamentalism. And that's what he wants. And Mike Pence wants that as well. And he's recruited conservative pastors to run for office and mobilize their congregations as election volunteers, which seems like a violation of the Johnson Amendment. But what do I know? He wants pastors running for office, triggering what he calls a third great awakening and bringing about a full impact collision between the two rival religions in America of Christianity and secularism. Nobody tell him that secularism's not a religion.
Yeah, that is news to me, that secular religion.
Yeah. He says
I was not aware of that.
He says each worldview is expansive and evangelistic. There will be no reconciliation of opposites with God. One will ultimately end in the eradication of the other. That is scary shit. Because we already know that these people want to kill us.
Right.
They have come out and said it. They want to eradicate us.
Yep.
Right. They absolutely do. I have received... Now, I have actually received death threats simply because I asked somebody, hey, I'd like you to move your sign 20 feet back onto private property. Was told to never come back to their town. Had death threats. Right. Now, mind you, he's fairly fringe. Not as fringe as you would think.
It's becoming far more mainstream to be fringe in Christianity these days.
Yeah. But so the Republicans are doing the whole, anti-Romney thing, and they're just like, hey, come on in. When it comes to God, we don't like Romney's God. We like God. Says that he's super duper like Steadfast Baptist Church when it comes to LGBT. All right. He said that conservative Christians prepare for martyrdom in order to save the nation from the pagan onslaught of marriage equality and legal abortion.
Oh my God. This is what I hate, is that they feel that rights for other people are somehow like taking rights away from them. And there's that saying, like, that's not how it works. It's not like pie.
Yeah.
More rights for other people doesn't mean fewer rights for you. It's not pie.
Exactly. I love that. I love that analogy as well. And if you something that you'll probably believe is that back in 2016, I think it was, Donald Trump attended one of his events in Florida. So
he is so buddy with so many sketchy and skeezy people.
Yep.
I hate that.
Yeah, he is absolutely, but he's part of that, like the Christian persecution complex that we see in America, especially, where they believe that, and this is something that last week, whenever I brought up the book that I was recommending, which one did I recommend last week? You
recommended like 12.
No, the book that I brought up, I thought that it was...
The Myth of Christian Persecution?
The Myth of Christian Persecution, yeah, by Candida
Wow,
Moss.
I'm surprised I remembered that.
Yeah, I was making sure that that was the one. Good job.
Yeah.
It talks about that, how they moved from this idea of dying, with dignity, basically, and standing up for what was right and stuff, and into this, it morphed into this. They're coming to get you. Always be terrified. And yes, equality equals you losing something. And they are not coming for equality. They're coming to take from you. It's a constant fear and and they're like, I will die for my religion type stuff. Like nobody's gonna try to kill you. Nobody's trying to kill you.
No, they're not. Like in America, you are really, really completely safe if you're a Christian.
Yeah, it is. It
Like,
is
you're
nonsense. But
fine.
this guy. But this is this is the thing. Now, think back to the young lady in France and
Mm-hmm.
what she was saying.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't saying that all Muslims should be kicked out of the country,
No.
and she wasn't saying that it's going to come down to the annihilation of either us or them.
Mm-mm.
No, that's what he's saying, though.
Yeah. And it should terrify everybody.
Yep.
Everybody should, like, this is a legitimate reason to be terrified of evangelical Christians and the stronghold that they have not only on, just society in general, but on politics.
Mm-hmm.
It's terrifying, and we should, like, it is a genuine concern.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No.
So,
He's one of many. Basically, if you watched
yeah.
the prayer breakfast the other day,
Ugh.
which had nothing to do with prayer, by the way,
No, it never
and
does.
if you watch like CPAC, and if you watch we talked about it last year about the um the Faith and Family Values Conference. Isn't that what it's called? I think. And
I
where
think so.
the
Yeah.
where the Faith and Family of Jesus Christ, make a better name. Usually you're better
Right.
than that. Um,
Are they though?
I mean, with names at least,
'Cause I
yeah.
don't
They
think
they are
so.
really good at disguising the names of their PACs and super PACs to make it seem like it's not so bad. So,
That's true.
but yeah, they're everywhere. They really are, and that comes from the Wedge document. And that comes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a book that I recommend that I don't have with me here this evening, but it talks about quiverful and what that is and why that should terrify people. And I'll probably have that here in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, that's what they're trying to do, and that's the reason that they anticipate. That's the reason they got up they trumped up the voter fraud nonsense, and they try to do all the way the voter suppression and stuff like that. That's another way that they are attempting to ensure that not only that minorities don't vote, but that it makes it so that it seems like voting is inconsequential. That you're not going to be able
Yeah.
to do anything. You know, you live in deep
Mm-hmm.
red states. Like last year, we heard it all the time, ruby red Texas, and then we almost flipped the shit. Um,
Yeah.
and so they want to outvote and stuff like that, and they're making it.
Yeah.
And they love doing that because they want to put their fundamentalists, their people, in everywhere from justice of the peace and constables all the way up to the presidency, which they have.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right? The vice president is one of them. So,
Mm-hmm.
this is not a unique stance Mr. Lane has. It's a rather common one in Christian fundamentalism. So,
Mm-hmm.
speaking of Christian fundamentalists,
Oh.
so we didn't watch the Super Bowl.
God, no.
No, I have reasons not to.
Yeah.
Even growing up as a fan of Kansas City, I had reasons to not watch the Super Bowl, and so so we
Mm-hmm.
didn't. We recorded we actually had our quiz stream.
Trivia.
And,
Yeah.
yep. And and frustrated atheist, by the way, I noticed a little bit ago in all caps from Periscope said, "Be very afraid, live in a perpetual state of fear." Yes, that is what they
Yep.
say.
That's exactly what they want to do.
So
They're
from
not
what I
wrong, I
understand,
guess.
the Super Bowl had a pretty good halftime show.
I mean, that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
I've heard both ends of that spectrum and pretty much zero in between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now the last time, here's a quiz. You might actually get it though. All right, here's a quiz for you. The last time that the Super Bowl was in Miami, it rained. Who was the performer? I really like this because it's like in the song.
It's in what song?
Because it rained.
In their song?
It rained.
Oh.
It's not Toto.
See, the only rain I can think of is like bands that have not played the Super Bowl halftime show. Maroon 5 was last year, so
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
I don't know. Britney Spears and Nelly and NSYNC.
He is from, and Shreddy the Cat got it. He is from Minneapolis.
Prince.
Yes. Purple
Ah.
Rain, which was in
Yeah,
the rain.
I don't see the chat, so
Yeah.
I don't have the chat.
Atheist Rationales in the chat as well says Bernie 2020 exclamation point. Sure, if he's a nominee, why not?
Yeah.
But so Shakira, and she was there, yeah, and apparently
Yes.
she. I found out that not too long ago, by the way, that Shakira is really short.
Yes.
She's.
I think she's shorter than I am. I think she's like 5 foot or 5'1".
Yeah, she's right there.
Yeah. Yeah. She's tiny.
She performed with the one and only J-Lo. Right?
Yep.
Remember when she was called J-Lo, right? That's right.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
Jennifer Lopez.
You know what?
Yeah. And by the way, Green Day YouTube, but Frustrated Atheist says, I'm here too. Damn, I read your comment, in all caps. So they performed, and apparently they did fairly well. I have not actually heard from people that actually watch Super Bowl and care about the halftime show. I haven't heard many bad things about them. But I did hear two people were upset. Two of them. Or, if you will, 4,732. So they are classified as a hate group, and 1 million moms. And again, 4,731 members on their Facebook group. Or Twitter, sorry.
Well, yeah, that's Twitter followers. And I think it's like 1,000 on Facebook, maybe.
Yeah,
it's not a lot.
They were aghast. And it said that Jennifer Lopez was wearing what appeared to be a glitter maxi pad, which
I would wear a glitter maxi pad.
Right?
I would do it. I'd totally do it. Yeah. Make me real fucking fabulous.
Yeah. So they've created a petition, by the way. But their petition doesn't actually amount to anything.
What were they hoping it would do?
I don't know. Sign this condemning the actions of the people at the halftime show. Okay. We feel condemned. Thank you. Moving on. I don't think that Jennifer Lopez and Shakira care.
Somehow I doubt it.
Yeah.
They are very rich people. Somehow I imagine do not give two shits. Yeah. Now, much less a single shit.
Now imagine, by the way, that they actually could have been upset. I can imagine that evangelicals getting upset because at one point in the halftime show, which is actually this was a because Shakira and Jennifer Lopez, you look at their ethnicity, right? They ain't white folks, basically, and so there was one point in there where they went back on into the stage and they stood together and they stood with people and made it appear as though they were in cages, with children in cages, and so it was very, very, very. If you saw it, you really could tell what it was, because it was like this is what it looks like, people.
Yeah.
So by the way, I can get behind the 4,731 million moms, because being upset with that, I absolutely am upset with that. Now, mind you, I'm upset for a different reason than them when it comes to that. I'm upset because children in cages. They're upset because we bring it up, because they have to defend the fact that Donald Trump and his administration have decided to throw children that are seeking asylum, separate them from their parents and throw them into cages for months at a time. They
don't care about that.
Yeah, they're upset that we brought it up, not the fact they don't give two shits about the children. They actually they don't care. But they said that it was not family friendly enough. It's football. These guys are literally giving each other CTE, and what do you want? And they want what's known, by the way, as, quote, respect and dignity. And I like the way that Hemant Mehta wrote this. He says they want respect and dignity during a football game, but they will never call for it from a GOP-led White House, which, by the way, that is not something that's unique, because I can tell you that's true, because people that would come on to my live streams, and anybody that's part of Cult 45 would come on there and they would say, we need to be more respectful of one another. And I'd be like, okay, so you should call out the president for attacking and bullying a 16-year-old girl. Mm-hmm. Oh, you mean that? You mean that? And they'd say things about her. I'm like, yeah, just like that. Exactly. So the 1 million moms were kind of like, okay, all right, you got to find something to bitch about. I get that. This other fella, can't even get through this one.
Oh no.
This other guy. No. He's the guy, and we've spoken about him, by the way. Hey, thanks, Paulogia. It is great to see you. Thanks for coming in here and humoring us. It is, as always, good to see you. If you folks don't already subscribe to Paulogia, actually to Paulogia, Atheist Rationale, Frustrated Atheist. Wow, there's a lot of people with YouTube channels in here. Make sure that you certainly do go and subscribe to them. They are all very, very amazing. And if you don't follow Inquisitive Quandary on the Twitters, make sure you turn around and do that too. But the halftime show pissed off I'd forget his name. If you can find his name while I'm talking about him, that'd be fabulous. A guy, he's from Louisiana. And I imagine he's probably also upset because yet again the Saints didn't make the Super Bowl. Sorry, bro. Bernie won Iowa. Thanks, Atheist Rationale, for that. He watched. Oh, Atheist Rationale didn't have a channel. I thought you did. My apologies. I was
Twitter
thinking.
Then.
My apologies. Anyways, well, go follow them on Twitter. This guy, he watched the halftime show and was so terrified and so incensed that he said he is going to sue the NFL.
Dave Daubenmire.
Yes, thank you.
Coach Dave, not a coach.
For like $30 million because him watching these two just absolutely fucking sexy women who can sing and dance. They're basically Justin Timberlake, but women.
And they can be super political about it too.
Oh,
which is also awesome. So
he wants to sue the NFL and say by being on television and by me watching it, and because you didn't tell me they were going to be on there in advance. Oh wait, of course they did. Wait, you mean you didn't think that Shakira and J-Lo were gonna Shakira and J-Lo? Do you know anything?
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. Have you seen their acts in the last 15 years? I mean, come on.
When Shakira was on SNL back in like 2000, I think it was actually before it was definitely before 9/11. Yeah, that's how long Shakira's been making music. Love that girl.
Yep.
He said, "They have endangered my immortal soul." Is how he talks, by the way. This is not me making fun of the Southern accent. This is actually how he speaks. Not that quickly, mind you. And he says, again, you didn't tell me that this was going to happen. I want to watch NFL, to watch, grown men, don't they dare kneel, slam into each other at top speed. I want to watch that. I want to watch violence. God damn it. But you put women on there you're going to put women on there and they're going to have like cropped things up to so it's showing their midriff, and they're going to have like short skirts on, and they're going to wave pom-poms around all the time. You're going to tell me that Shakira and J-Lo, those are cheerleaders. Oh.
Yeah, that's different.
Oh, well.
Somehow.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like Dave Daubenmire said something along the lines of like, aren't we thinking of like all of the 12-year-olds or something like that? And it was either on Cogdis or Scathing Atheist that they're all like, how much do you want to, I think it was Scathing Atheist, or like, how much do you want to bet that Dave Daubenmire has a 12-year-old son and did like a boner check? They're like watching the Super Bowl halftime show and he's like, boner check. You have a boner. Oh my God, I have to sue the NFL.
I bet he was, he was probably, tugging his little pud, and no, I'm not going to do that. That's character assassination
in an erotic way. Yeah,
I apologize for that. But yeah, he's like, you're going to be as Atheist Rationale. And by the way, Frustrated Atheist says, I love you guys. Atheist Husker and Motel Cowboy. But I'm gonna go watch some DC Universe.
That's fine.
Well, thanks for stopping by. Please do share it out. And Atheist Rationale, of course, it said they're going the allegory to the U.S. concentration camps really pissed him off. But booty shaking is somehow worse than kids in concentration camps. Again,
apparently so.
They are upset that they brought up the. They're upset that they had to see those kids in concentration camps and then in cages. Yeah. But again, they're upset because how dare they bring that up? Not the fact that the kids were there and still are. By the way, remember when you're voting. Anybody that doesn't speak out against that, remember when you're voting, Texas, and or anywhere that these young people were shipped all over the country, and so Dobbenmeyer he's going to sue the NFL, and it's going to get thrown out of court, obviously, because no, just stop it.
No.
And he records in front of a green screen that makes it look like he's at Tiger Stadium at LSU. It's horrible.
It's so
you can go to Right Wing Watch and you can look at that. We'll put in the links in the YouTube description at some point after the show's over. Could be next week. And then to end this on an even funnier note, so that you can get into what you're doing.
Oh no.
Franklin Graham.
Oh yes.
He of the
they covered him last week.
Yeah, he of the son of Billy, has recently been wanting to go to the UK. So he's wanting to follow the path taken by who's that guy from the Steadfast Baptist Church that was like 37 different countries.
Oh no, that wasn't. Was that the branch of Steadfast? Stephen Anderson.
Yeah, he's they're involved. That's the new fundamentalist
they're
Baptist. NIFB.
I knew they were NIFB. I just didn't think it was Steadfast.
So Franklin Graham is wanting to follow the lead of Stephen Anderson by not just by creating a tour to go around the UK, but also apparently by basically being banned from the country. Because the UK has said, or from all of that area, because the UK has said in solidarity, which by the way, this is the first time they've basically ever done that. They couldn't do it for Brexit or anti-Brexit, whatever anti-Brexit is, because they're leavers and they're stayers. I don't ever know what that was. I don't know what the other one besides.
I've heard Michael Marsh talk about it. I just don't remember.
He is the UK has said, no, you can't come and spout your hate speech at our venues. So every single one of them blocked him from coming there. They banned him from the premises. And not just for right now either, from what I understand, but the fact you can't come back.
That's amazing.
You are kicked out of here for good.
That makes me very happy.
You're basically the president at Whole Foods. You can't come in here. Not because we kicked you out, but you physically can't because you don't know we exist because you just eat cheeseburgers. I guess you can get cheeseburgers at Whole Foods. I don't know. Whole Foods is on my Amazon anyway. I don't pay taxes. I see you looking in there trying to figure that one out. But yeah, so
I'm trying to figure out if Whole Foods has cheeseburgers, actually.
I'm certain you could get like the stuff to make cheeseburgers there.
Yeah.
Think of like you don't get a he's not Donald Trump is not welcome at basically anywhere, in civilized society.
Right. Was it an Angels game that he got booed?
No, it was a Washington Nationals game.
Oh, it was Nationals. Okay.
Yeah, it was in DC.
We were talking about that. We were talking about that at work this week. And my coworker said something, and I was all like, "Oh yeah, like Donald Trump got booed out of a baseball game," and she was like, "What?"
Yeah, he also turned around and got booed at a UFC fight too.
Yeah.
Really yeah. So, but I think it's great that that happened. It couldn't happen to a better person. Besides Stephen Anderson.
That's true.
And so, but so that's basically the news. There was more to get through than we had last week, but there was so much has happened in this week, so it took a little more time. But again, folks, I think it's necessary because, again, you hear a lot of other news being spoken about, but you don't hear about these things outside of several, a couple of circles here and there, and it's difficult for me to locate channels and videos that come in and actually talk about this stuff like we do.
Yeah.
And that's why we think it's so important. Now, obviously, we have things like Susan's about to go into this week's deep dive. We have our rants later. We have our book recommendations. We have our channel shout out, and that stuff. But we feel like getting to the news first, and we like to kind of speed through it when we can. But getting to that first is so important. So and if you want to send us any tips or anything, you can send us at Divine Disbelief on the Twitter. We have a Gmail, Divine Disbelief at.
Yeah.
Huh?
I'm just agreeing. I'm just saying yeah.
Yep. And also divinedisbelief@gmail.com. If you see anything that if we made any mistakes, because we want to know that, we can correct those. But also if you see anything that you think we may have missed, or a something that interested you, doesn't matter when it was, really, we'll talk about stuff. You can DM us, you can tag us on Twitter. We have a Facebook page, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
we still do. Yes, I do.
She's over there. She runs that.
I do. This is currently shared on the Divine Disbelief Facebook page. So yay.
There you go. Yeah. Awesome. Well, cool. I'm going to turn this over to Susan. She's going to do this week's deep dive. And folks, I hope you have alcohol.
I know Nathaniel does, because I bought him some this evening. I'm just saying, I was a very, very good girlfriend and got you alcohol. I got carded tonight. That was amazing. So, okay. So, eventually we're going to come up with a better name for the deep dive. I don't know, because we're covering things every week that we think are really, really important to the secular community, things that you might not entirely know about. So, tonight's deep dive is on prosperity gospel enthusiast, abortion prayer, and personal minister to Donald Trump himself, Paula White. So she was born Paula Michelle Furr. She was born on April 20th, 1966 in Tupelo, Mississippi, which explains quite a lot about her, as we will get into. She had a rough childhood that included abuse, poverty, a mother with alcoholism, and as a teenager, bulimia. Her parents split and her mother eventually remarried to a 2-star admiral in the U.S. Navy. That moved their family to the Washington, D.C. area, where she graduated from high school at Seneca Valley High School in Germantown, Maryland. So, of course, that's all from the Wikipedias, so we'll continue with all of that. She is reported to have become a Christian in 1984 while attending the Damascus Church of God, but there's a book called Holy Mavericks by Shane Lee and Philip Luke Sinitier that recounts her conversion slightly differently, saying that White actually wasn't attending church at the time, but she was, quote, an emotionally scarred, divorced young mother who had hit rock bottom. I mean, One day, however, White was being proselytized to by her neighbor in the kitchenette of her trailer, and for once, the proselytization actually worked. That's a hard word to say. And as she sat there while her neighbor talked to her about the gospel of Jesus Christ, White supposedly exclaimed, "Yes, I want real love. Yes, I want my life changed. Yes, I want you, Jesus, as my personal savior." So this book, Holy Mavericks, goes on to talk about a vision that White supposedly saw shortly after her conversion. White said, "When I was just 18 years old and barely saved, the Lord gave me a vision that every time I opened my mouth and declared the word of the Lord, there was a manifestation of his spirit where people were either healed, delivered, or saved. When I shut my mouth, they fell off into utter darkness, and God spoke to me and said, 'I called you to preach the gospel.'" So as you can tell, the batshittery started very early for White. In 1991, Paula and then husband Randy White started their first church called Without Walls International Church in Tampa, Florida. And of course, the church had some monetary problems, and Paula and Randy actually didn't salary for the first 2 years that the church was open. They lived on, you guessed it, government assistance. Because they did, right? Because, of course, we're going to rail against any sort of government assistance while taking advantage of it. The church changed locations a few times between its founding in 1991 and 1998, when it finally found its permanent home in Tampa, potentially just up the road. I don't know, it's Tampa. I have no idea. I've never been there. The church eventually grew so much that they were holding services that would have up to 5,000 attendees a week and up to 10,000 that were reached in outside ministry. They expanded their property by purchasing the lot next door, which apparently was a Fort Canada dry warehouse, which is such a waste of good ginger ale real estate. I really gotta say. In 2002, they branched out to Lakeland, Florida, and in 2004, they reported a congregation of 20,000, making it the seventh largest church in the United States. Now, despite being such a large church without walls, ended up putting both locations up for sale in 2008 due to financial difficulties. And the this is my favorite thing. The Evangelical Christian Credit Union, which Patreon goal, I'm going to try and join myself. They started closure proceedings in late 2008. They ended up selling 2 parcels of land in order to reach a settlement with the credit union, whose name I'm not saying again. Paula became the senior pastor of Without Walls Tampa in July 2009, replacing Randy, who supposedly stepped down for health reasons, which, I mean, I don't know. And in January 2011, Paula became the senior pastor at the Lakeland Without Walls, so at both of them. However, in November 2011, Randy told Paula that the Lakeland campus was close to being sold or going into foreclosure, which is a trend, as we can see. And by October 2012, the Tampa property officially began undergoing foreclosure proceedings. Without Walls filed a counterclaim that said that Paula basically stole audio equipment to take to her new job at a church in Apopka. Did I say that right? I don't know if I said that right. And even better, the Lakeland campus. This is my favorite thing in the world. The Lakeland campus actually had the electricity shut off before it was abandoned because they owed over $50,000 in electricity bills. How do you do that? Like, I don't understand. Of course, Paula faced a lot of allegations of misuse of church funds that eventually led to a 3-year investigation that was closed in 2010. And of course, the investigators were stifled with a lifelong confidentiality agreement. As in, if they mentioned anything about this to anyone, even on their deathbed, lawyers could probably go after their estate. I don't know for sure, but that's my professional I am not a lawyer opinion. Ask Andrew Torres, he'll probably know. After screwing over Without Walls entirely, White moved on to bigger and better pastures in Apopka, Florida. The aforementioned Apopka. Well, she took over as senior pastor there at the end of 2011 after the death of its previous pastor, Zachary Tim. She received words of praise from people like the mayor of Apopka, who said her church's mentoring of school students, donating food to the needy, assisting families victimized by violence, and ministering to help young women trapped in the adult entertainment industry has been inspiring. They must not have a lot of inspiration in Apopka, Florida, I gotta say. She didn't have nearly as much drama during her time there, and she stepped down as senior pastor on May 5th, 2019, and nepotismishly installed her son and his wife as the new senior pastor. We swear it's not all entirely a racket, we promise. This brings us to her time in the Trump administration and part of the reason why this woman is fucking frightening. So, as I said previously, White is literally a personal minister to Donald Trump. In fact, he contacted her all the way back in 2002 after seeing her program, Paula White Today, that ran on stations like Trinity Broadcast Network, Daystar, and of all things, BET. Yeah, that BET, that one, the one you're thinking of, which apparently didn't sit too well with the African American community. She was accused of adopting AAVE, African American Vernacular English, for her own personal gain and to appear relatable, but her show was also supposedly steeped in racial and class related stereotypes because she is a wonderful person. And Trump has actually made appearances on White's show and flown her out to Atlantic City for private Bible studies. And is that what the kids are calling it these days? Because that doesn't sound right, but I'm not hip. She served on Trump's evangelical advisory board during his campaign, along with our good buddy, friend of the show, Robert Jeffress, and gave the invocation prayer at his inauguration. She currently acts as one of Trump's spiritual advisors and leads prayer circles in the Oval Office on a regular basis, which to me, I don't know. Again, this is my professional, I'm not a lawyer opinion, but it seems like a violation of church and state, separation of church and state. It seems like it's happening on government time, but whatever. I guess it depends on, if they're having to actually be forced to participate. I just lost my place entirely. There we go. Sorry. She also apparently sang in the morning, which is a little bit too overly attached girlfriend for my tastes. She visits the White House week and has said in the past that she believes that God wants her to go on national television. So I guess that's why she's in the news so much. I don't know. What's particularly frightening about this woman is how she categorizes people who oppose Trump. She said in the past that they operate in sorcery and witchcraft, and that any persons or entities that are aligned against the president will be exposed and dealt with and overturned by the superior blood of Jesus. Now, I'm really just spitballing here. I don't know entirely, but that seems kind of threatening. Just a little bit. She was most recently in the news sermon a couple weeks ago, where in her prayer during a church service, she prayed, "We command any satanic pregnancies to miscarry right now." Now, granted, she went on to say, "We declare that anything that's been conceived in satanic wombs, that it will miscarry, it will not be able to carry forth any plan of destruction, any plan of harm." I don't know what she considers a satanic womb, but I have an idea of like a uterus with Baphomet on it. I don't know. Or, just like the womb of a Satanist, or, she's seen the movie Rosemary's Baby too many times. I don't know. Also, what sort of plan of destruction is she talking about? Because it really seems like a baby wouldn't be able to carry out any sort of evil plans for at least the first couple of few years of its life. But, you never know. And also, as much as she doesn't want to admit, this is literally a prayer for abortion. Miscarriages are known in the medical community or as spontaneous or natural abortion. And if you follow this logic through, God really is the biggest abortion provider there ever was. What's probably the worst of all, however, is the criticism that White has received from members of her own evangelical community. Apparently, nobody is above criticism, right? She's been accused of being a charlatan from fellow conservative Christians for her support of the prosperity gospel ministry that she preaches, and heresy for supposedly denying the Trinity. Now, the thing with her denying the Trinity can be referred to in a video shared by Christian author Eric Erickson. "Oh my God, why would you name your child that?" That shows White declaring that Jesus Christ was not the only Son of God, which apparently contradicts the Nicene Creed, which says we believe in one Lord Jesus Christ, the only Son of God. And as it turns out, the Apostles' Creed, I believe in Jesus Christ, his only Son, our Lord, both of which I very distinctly remember reading reciting when I was growing up Episcopalian, which is why I asked on Twitter the other day if the Nicene Creed and the Apostles' Creed were really just Episcopalian and Catholic things. So thank you to those who answered that. I really appreciate that. Now, White, of course, denies all of these accusations despite there being evidence of her saying every single bit of it. When we take a look, oh God, this is awful. When we take a look at what White's website has to offer, we can find things, of course, like information on her current husband, Jonathan Cain, a section labeled spiritual that includes things like prayer requests and video testimonials, causes that are all labeled as ministries, which makes me wonder if they're actually doing any good in the world. Global, that includes news, events, and schedule. Media, to see when and where she is currently occupying airwaves that should be used for better things, and of her store. I know I've said some stuff is my favorite part, but this is genuinely my favorite part of this. You can get things like devotionals, books written by both her and her current husband, including one called Fasting Made Simple, which seems to not require any sort of text at all, really. You can also find CDs of spoken word and music, which is also by her current husband, and digital downloads of things like the same things you can get in CD form, but with photos of iPods. instead of CD covers. And a good majority of the items say that they're free with for a certain amount of donation, but we all know that that money is going straight into the church's coffers and subsequently and allegedly into White's pockets. Some more random and mildly disturbing facts about her. She's had people like Tyra Banks, Deion Sanders, and the late Michael Jackson on her show. And she even made a trip out to Neverland whenever Jackson was in the middle of his child molestation case in a show of spiritual support. Because that's exactly what Michael Jackson needed at that point. Hip-hop artist Shy Lene, I think saying I don't say it, I'm very sorry, I YouTube it, included White in a song called False Teachers with the S's dollar signs, with the line, Paula White is a false teacher, of course. And when White's son and manager, Brad Knight, this is the same person, complained, Shylin published an open letter that essentially says that White preaches that prosperity gospel bullshit and claims that she speaks for God. I mean, both of which are true. Of course, White rejects the claim that she preaches the prosperity gospel, but we see you, Paula White. We see you. White has also claimed that Trump was inspired by a 2006 issue of Newsweek that featured the Crystal Cathedral, which is a humongous megachurch in California, and said to White, let's do this before we both get old, which I feel like Trump probably said to Melania too. White went on to claim that Trump wanted to build a giant church, much like the one in California, and have White lead it. She claimed this. Really? Yes, she did. Of course, since this was in 2006, Trump was also preoccupied by Melania becoming a citizen, the birth of his son Barron, and his alleged affair with Stormy Daniels. So, all in all, Paula White is someone that you should probably read this as definitely know about because of her past with allegedly cheating congregations out of their offerings and because of what she's doing now with the Trump administration. So Paula White, TLDR, is fucking terrifying. Thank you. I feel like I'm just giving a book report.
No, I of course have already kind of seen that and read some of it. So, but yeah, that was that the comment about Melania and Donald was, I felt rather pertinent. I like how you said. Yeah. I like how you said allegedly. No, he definitely fucked Stormy Daniels.
You know, you can say anything as long as you say allegedly.
That's true. Yeah, that's
allegedly fair. You can.
Yeah, Paula White, of course, is, you mentioned Robert Jeffress and stuff. Robert Jeffress, if you don't know, he's the senior pastor here at First Baptist Dallas. Is actually where, and it says bravo on the book report, by the way. Who knew? In status update, absolutely give you a thumbs up for that. I really enjoyed it as well. I think it would have been.
Feel free to give me an A+.
Yes, this is the part where you go and give us money on Patreon because she did a good job.
Yes. Because I worked really hard on that.
She did. She spent time. I was playing Call of Duty, and I was doing that, and I was reading some of my inspirational books about how early Christianity. Good night, Scott. Oh, Scotty, you got to stay on for just a couple more minutes because my rant is coming up. And I have.
Oh yeah, it's a long one.
It's not a long one. I have a hell of a rant tonight. I actually wrote it out. So
you did.
You can't leave yet, Scotty. You're really going to, I think, enjoy that. I don't know about enjoy, but you're going to be able to. You'll be able to identify with it. But we met at First Baptist Dallas a couple of years ago here at a protest of Robert Jeffress. Yeah, and that was June of 2018. Yeah. Yep. And we since then obviously have gone on and done other things too, and not just the not just the bedroom stuff either. We've actually done we've done that too. But
I was gonna say not just protest stuff personally.
Bedroom stuff.
Also, yes.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, look at her. Would you not? Seriously. But I thought that the comment about Stormy Daniels was great, and Paula White. But Paula White and Robert Jeffress are really good friends, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
They're both lying pieces of garbage, and they're both bigoted.
They are.
So
Birds of a feather, all that stuff.
yes, but no,
Yeah.
that was phenomenal. I have nothing to add to that. That was a beautiful. Much like you, it was gorgeous, and no one has ever seen such a amazing book report. Some people are saying it's the best ever. I am trying
See, I
to.
can't see any of the comments, so I can't tell. I'm gonna have to like watch it later and read it.
You can't pull up the restream chat.
You didn't send it to me.
Oh, you just
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Log in the
Let me
restream.
mute. Let me mute really quick.
Just log in the restream. While you're doing that, I'm gonna pull up my keep ranting. I'm gonna for sure.
Wait, will it let me log in when you're logged in?
I don't know why it wouldn't.
With anything?
I don't know why it wouldn't.
Futz with anything?
All right.
I really hope it doesn't kick you out right now.
Oh, it won't. I mean,
well, you've got the key, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Let's see.
All right. While you are doing that, I am going
to mute myself again.
I have my rant this evening, and it's something that I've been dealing with quite a bit over the course of the past few years. Even more so than when I first left Christianity. I'm often told by Christians that we atheists have no sense of morality because we don't believe in a God, namely their preferred deity. After all, where would we get our morality other than from a genocidal, infanticidal, slavery practicing and regulating, abortion forcing, loophole creating through human sacrifice sexist who threatens people with eternal torture simply because they don't worship him properly? Where would we get it from? All that aside, I hear this morality argument, if one were to call it that, more from one group of people than any other: the Christian members of Cult 45. Yep, this is for you, evangelical Trump supporters. You don't have the moral high ground. This shouldn't come as a surprise to you. After all, you literally worship and would likely kiss the feet of the anti-Jesus. The one you so ardently praise, the one you are seemingly incapable of chastising or even saying one negative thing about, would be an enemy of Jesus. Don't get mad at me rebuking you, person who supports the violation of the Constitution you say you love so much. If you support a pathologically lying, thin-skinned, narcissistic sexist who calls neo-Nazis very, very fine people, you can't get mad at me when I call you out for it. You can't tell me I have no morals and have no foundation for morality when you, oh person of the I am a patriot and love God Twitter profile, defend separating children from their parents and hold them in unsanitary cages for months at a time, during which their parents may be sent back and will never see their children again, for the crime, which is not a crime at all, of seeking asylum but crossing our southern border outside of a port of entry because the president has decided to close those ports of entry so they couldn't escape near certain death from either the elements or those in Mexico who would seek out their demise. You don't get to tell me about morality and being a good person. I've read the Bible, and nowhere in the words of Jesus in Mark 10:21, Luke 4:18, Luke 6:38, and 14:12-18, Matthew 5:42, 19:21, and many others does Jesus say, help out the poor unless they're from a different country and don't follow the rules for entry unless they're running from poverty, war, persecution, or certain death. I actually rather like this passage in Matthew chapter 25, verses 34-40. Then the king will say to those on his right, come, you are blessed by my Father. Inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you visited me. I was in prison and you came to me. Then the righteous will answer him saying, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? And when did we see you a stranger and welcome you, or naked and clothe you? And when did we see you sick or in prison and visit you? And the king will answer them, truly I say to you, as you did to one of the least of these my brothers, you did to me. So you don't get to tell me I don't have honesty in my heart when you defend a person who violates the Constitution by extorting another nation in order to dig up dirt on a political opponent and then lies about it. I think Jesus said something not only about liars, but also about those who protect liars. You don't get to tell me I don't have morals when you laugh with and defend a man who said he enjoys grabbing women by the pussy, can't help himself around beautiful women, says a woman is going to bleed out of her whatever, demeans a mother who breastfeeds and has been accused of sexual assault by more than a dozen women. Oh, and I forgot to mention that he bursts into the dressing room of young ladies and says he can do that because he owns it. That says nothing to him raw dogging a porn star while his wife sat at home with their newborn child, but you don't care about that either. Now, to be fair, I don't care if you fucked a porn star. I really don't. Do what you want with your own life. No, you're the one who says you care about that. You sure cared about Michelle Obama when she wore those dresses that showed her shoulders. But now you seem to turn a blind eye to something that you consider negative. You consider it negative that Melania Trump, when she came here when she lied on her visa to come to this country, you should be against, because I've heard you say it before. Shoulders are bad, ankles are bad. That means that things that Melania Trump did were bad. No, that's not something that I believe. But it sure does show your hypocrisy. Don't tell me you love children and say we should all show each other respect while defending the person who attacked and insulted a 16-year-old climate activist. Don't bring your faux outrage my direction when Michelle Wolf jokes about Sarah Huckabee smoky eye as if the one you support doesn't regularly attack and bully those he doesn't like with insults, including calling Senator Chuck Schumer, whose great-grandmother and 7 of her 9 children died in the Holocaust, crying Chuck Schumer because he openly cried while remembering them. I could go on and on and on and on and fucking on about his lies and gaslighting and victim blaming and racism and sexism, but I'll leave you with this. If there is a God, and if that God is the Christian one, I can tell you, evangelical Trump supporter, that your actions today and your defense of a person so opposite of that which you say you worship, well, I guess I'll see you in hell.
I had myself on mute just to make sure that I didn't interrupt at all. But that was great. That was fucking powerful. You're always powerful, though. It's part of the thing I love about you.
I had so much more to say.
Yeah.
Oh, there's so much more. But again.
Yeah.
But again, these same people are the ones that defend, like Rush Limbaugh getting the Medal of Freedom. Rush Limbaugh, who has said the most sexist and racist things.
Yep.
I'm just.
Yeah.
I
feel bad that I don't really have much to rant about right now.
By the way, this says, congratulations, you've received 100 messages today with Restream Chat. So thank you for that. And Mark Gage said hello and said, I thought that Romney should get an award. I do too. And then Mark sent a blank chat. I liked what Stephen Colbert said the other day about Mitt Romney. He said, I will even go as far as to say that the stand he took was presidential. Why couldn't he be president? Thanks, Obama. So, yeah.
That's funny.
And Who Knew says, and the same people who just said the sanctity of their home was ruined by a Super Bowl halftime show. Yeah. Again, they're not upset with the fact that children are in cages. They're upset that they had to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're upset that it disrupted their view of anything or disrupted their lives in the slightest.
Yeah.
They don't want to be inconvenient.
Yeah.
And they view children dying in cages as inconvenient.
Yes. And by the way, if you I don't know, and I'm not not paid to promote this, but feel free though, Late Show, if you want to. if you the other day after the day after, or no, the night of the acquittal, watch the opening monologue from Stephen Colbert. It was heartfelt, and you could tell that it hurt him. Much like it did me, and I know many others. The lack of honesty among people who share his religion. Because he's a Catholic. But the lack of honesty and respect by those who share his religion is phenomenal. To him, he is actually it's disgusting. I said the word phenomenal, and I apologize, but it's disgusting. And that's yet another reason that we do things like this. We have shows like this. We talk with folks about this because we know that if you are a person who, like, I'm fairly far left. I'm gonna be honest, and I know Susan is too. And if you attempt to have these conversations with people, then you know everything that I just said is true because you've experienced it yourself. And it's important that we don't let it get us down. Right? That's why I'm again going next week, and we're going out and registering more people to vote. And we're going into high schools and into colleges to do that. Because if we're going to have any Christians or anybody religious in office, then we should have those who actually care about people, like we know that Jesus would have. So, what?
I agree.
So, do you have anything that you are looking at that just what did Peter Griffin say? Grinds your gears.
Grinds your gears. Yeah. I mean, last week I complained about people not answering emails. Complain about, people sending me too many emails. Not really. I don't really have much of anything. I feel like in the grand scheme of things, a lot of my problems are very, very small. It seems very, very petty to complain about a lot of stuff.
No, I think this is, when we were talking about, because I'm actually the one that came up with this part of it. And I said, hey, I want a time where we can rant, and so I feel like it's therapeutic for me.
No, that makes sense. That makes perfect.
Now I'm gonna get on Twitter and be like, fuck you. And be like, yeah, you hypocritical bastards. I hope that I hope that at one point I hear this. This was it, like 3 minutes or something like that, where I hear that, like that somebody has snipped that or something. And if I can ever become somebody that if you need somebody to yell at somebody for you and
you're like, I'm your guy.
Will be the one to do that. But if you don't have anything, the next section is who knew? No, we didn't watch the debate. I'm certain that the white people probably did well. It's the book recommendations, right?
Book recommendation, yes.
Where's my book?
And this is not something that I am currently reading. It's something that I've read twice. And I have a signed copy of it. So if anybody has watched this show or Nathaniel's Periscope in the past, y'all know that I worked for Planned Parenthood for a little over a year. And while I was working at Planned Parenthood, I was fortunate enough to get to meet Cecile Richards twice. Cecile Richards, if you don't know, was the president of Planned Parenthood Federation of America. She is She's from Texas. Her mother is Governor Ann Richards, who is one of my favorite people in the whole entire world. So Cecil Richards wrote a book a couple of years ago. I think it came out 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago. Called Make Trouble. And it is basically like her memoir, her autobiography, and it's wonderful because it talks a lot about her journey from, her early start in activism, which basically started with like recycling when she was in high school and wearing black armbands to protest like Vietnam and stuff like that, and how she was a union organizer and things of that nature, and follows her. She helped found the Texas Freedom Network, which is amazing. Like they also fight for stuff like separation of church and state and all that. I could literally talk about Cecil Richards pretty much all day. I have very few people that I genuinely look up to in the way that I look up to Cecil Richards. And she her book Make Trouble is fantastic. You get the audiobook is read by her, so that made me really happy. She talks about um she talks about like the murder of Dr. Tiller and stuff like that, which affected pretty much everybody in the reproductive justice community very, very deeply. Um it's a great book. It's a great insight into Cecil Richards and her journey and everything like that. So I highly recommend Make Trouble by Cecil Richards. And if you can get a signed copy, get a signed copy. What you got?
Yeah, I know that's quite a good book.
Yeah.
Lorraine was the first one this evening to say, "Hey, I heard that Peter Piper picked up a pickled pepper." Now she said pepper
Pickled.
instead of peppers. But you know what?
Well, but it's also pickled pences too.
Yes. She was the first one to actually write that out. And,
Get it? I know.
I called that in. Mark Gage said Texas turned blue this election. Doing our best. And
Yep.
and
Working on it.
she was as surprised as I was that nobody in our restream chat, and we're restreaming, by the way, on Facebook, Periscope, Twitch, and YouTube, that nobody has said anything about the what is it? It can't really be a tongue twister, right? Because
No, it is. Yeah.
I've never had
it's a tongue
issues
twister.
with it. Like I've never ever
You
had.
were gonna say it earlier.
I didn't want to say the VP's name.
But it's not.
I know it
It's
still
not
is.
Pence the VP.
I know, but it still is.
Oh, good lord.
My book recommendation this week, by the way, is a wonderful book by James Q. Wilson. It is called The Moral Sense. And by the way, James Wilson was the one of the more phenomenal philosophers of the 20th century and maybe ever. And this book was written first in 1993. I do recommend it again. James Q. Wilson is the author. There's right there. There it is. And I do recommend this book for a number of different reasons, because if you ever, this is much like the book Sapiens, which I also recommend. If you ever wonder where we get our morality from, Dr. Wilson comes up and he talks about where we first imagined sympathy, where we first imagined things like duty, right? Duty to one another, and doing things because we had a moral reason to do so. And this is actually where, again, if you've ever heard me talk about the reason that we didn't kill each other when we started, settling down, and we still did, but we started settling down into communities in societies on the base of the riverbeds and stuff, so that it'd be worse if we were dead. Who knew? It's funny. And so this book really talks about that, how we were able to glean current morality from that. And it's not an incredibly academic book, which is great, right? We find A lot of times, like there's gonna be some times in here where I bring up books that are more academic, and I'm gonna do my best not to do that. I have I have a great many book, and by the way, Mark Gage asked the question: have you heard of John Oliver's book about Pence's Better Gay Bunny? Yes, I have. In fact, we have it on the bookshelf, and I ordered 3 of them back in 2017 when that episode came out, and I believe I donated one of them to a library, and then shipped another one to a friend of ours down in Houston, and so still have one. I believe it's on the bookshelf in there right now. I think it is.
I don't
Susan.
know.
It should be in there.
I don't know.
It is.
I mean, I could look.
It is narrated, by the way. Who's the guy from? If you get the audiobook version, it has the guy from Big Bang Theory. I forget his name, but then
Jim Parsons.
Yeah.
Jim Parsons.
I believe so. And then
Wow.
the stink bug is Mike Pence, and he is. It's phenomenal. They have a great voice cast on that on the audiobook. I recommend getting that as well. And I think every single bit of RuPaul, every single bit of money they make goes to the Trevor Project, and so that's off of and it's an amazing book there as well. But in this, we finish up with this one real quick. In the moral sense, these are the things he talks about: sentiments, sources. So he talks about the social animal, families, gender, the universal aspiration. He speaks about gender in 1993 and brings up these ideas of gender, not just gender equality, but separating it from sex. And this is in 1993 where this person is doing this, and talks about character as well. The moral sense and human character, how we put everything that we have learned over the course of the past 225,000 years into together, and we create what is known as the human character, and how we work and live beside one another, and create these amazing societies that either thrive because we understand the moral foundation there. It comes not from a religious book, but rather from our innate ability and innate knowledge to be able to learn from one another and understand that when we work together, we learn from the bonobos, who we're incredibly closely related to, and that they are matriarchal and that they help each other, instead of from the common chimpanzee who will literally kill each other just for one more scrap of food. And so it's a lot. He mentions things like that too. And so Dr. Wilson, he passed away a few years back. And if I can have any kind of legacy close to something like this, I would hope that it'd be like his. So
Yep.
It all gets donated in Pence's name. It says Mark Gage regarding the book by John Oliver. The bunny's name, I forget it off the top of my head. But
Marlon Bundo.
Yeah, Marlon Bundo. And if you don't know Marlon Bundo, he is I don't want to know spoilers here. He's a gay bunny, and he gets married. So
No spoiler.
Marlon Bundo, by the way, is a real bunny. He is the Pence family bunny. He's the only animal, like pet, that's in the White House. So, or that's like in the I don't know where does the vice president even live? He doesn't live in the White House, does he? Does he live in the White House?
Gray House. The Gray House.
You know that Mike Pence would never live in the Black House.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah. But that's the book I had this week. So if you you can find that, I forget I can find the publisher and send you the link, and I'll probably send it on to our YouTube channel. It'll be in the description of our YouTube channel. So if you're watching this on Restream, on Periscope, Twitch, or Facebook. I guess you could probably put it on Facebook too. That's her, John. It's her over there. Her.
Maybe. I probably can.
Yeah, that's. We're gonna make sure we put the links to both of our books. All donations get sent in Pence's name. Yeah. And I believe you have a channel shout out, right?
Yes, I do. I had to remember who it was. Um, so I've been watching the more popular sort of atheist YouTubers and everything. I've been watching a lot of Mr. Atheist stuff lately. Jimmy Snow. I've been watching a lot of his stuff. I've been a fan of his for a while, so I don't. I mean, I'm sure he appreciates the shout out. He doesn't necessarily need it, but I'm sure he appreciates it. Um, yeah, I've been watching a lot of his stuff. He is very, very good. He talks a lot. He does video critiques a lot of like Paul and Morgan and Girl Defined, and he doesn't really do the Hunter Avalon stuff. That's mostly Cirrus. But I really love his video breakdowns of, especially Girl Defined, because it's really interesting to see, femininity and anything that can be considered any sort of like feminism related issues in relation to evangelical Christianity. So it's very interesting to see that and everything. So I really dig Mr. Atheist. So go subscribe to Mr. Atheist. I really like him.
Yeah, Jimmy's a really great guy. So, and he's got, as you mentioned, a lot of great videos. And she mentioned, of course, Cirrus, who is a good friend of ours. And he's going to be at the Faithless Forum again. This time it's in Austin. He'll be down there with also Rachel Maddie. Don't know who that is. Rachel Maddie. I know Rachel Maddow. Rachel Maddie. You know who Maddie is? Maddie? By the way, if anybody ever wonders why I look over here to my left, Rachel Maddow, okay. If anybody ever wonders why I look to my left, it's because we have dual screens and Susan is over here. So that's where I'm looking. I realize the camera is there. I should probably put the camera, honestly, on top of that computer so that it's not right here. But that's why that happens. If you're just listening to this, you didn't know that. So if you're listening to this and you're driving, don't pick it up while you're driving and look at it and wonder what I'm doing.
Please don't. Please don't.
Appreciate the listen.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why I keep looking over there, because that's where she is. So there's things to and I think it's Robert Rado says, "What up, Nate? Hey, how's it going? Good to see you." But Cirrus is going to be at Faithless Forum, and so is our good friend Ocean Keltoy. He is he's probably my favorite pagan. Good friend Apologia is going to be there, and his amazing partner Shannon Q. I don't know if Arn Ra is going to be there this year. I haven't spoken with him about it yet.
I don't know.
And then your buddy, I'm guessing your buddy Dillahunt, he's going to be there.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. Apparently, Shannon Q organized for her and Genetically Modified Skeptic, I think, to buy 2 dinosaur suits and battle on Matt Dillahunty's trampoline. That was arranged today.
Atheists.
We're wonderful. It's fun.
I can tell you that I know there's some folks that aren't going to be there this year, but we're not getting into that. Hey, and Robert Rado, I think Robert Rado says, "Good, how are you? And nice setup for the live stream. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. It is something that we are constantly editing. Again, if you're in here, I keep looking over at Susan over there. So, and so my face is constantly doing that one. That's because that's where she is. But, if you are in Texas, or if you want to come to Texas in the middle of June, right? It's in June or July.
I think so.
It's in the
June.
middle.
Pretty sure it's in June.
Austin, Texas, in the middle of June. Never mind.
Very humid. Very humid.
Don't come. Never mind. Just watch the outtakes and stuff like that on YouTube later on.
Yeah.
I think I'm fairly certain that Neil is going to be there. So our good friend Neil, he's the 604 atheist up from Vancouver. He's going to be there, and so is Prophet Azad. He is a phenomenal man. He is a lot like myself, and Apologia and Cirrus are alike in that they were both creationists, right? They're both fundamentalists. Vice Rhino, I don't think that he's going to be making it. nor Mrs. Rhino. But Prophet Azad and myself are a lot alike in that not only were we both evangelicals, we were both pastors. He was a pastor for an incredible amount of time, longer than I was. He was also a pastor. I was a youth pastor, so I didn't have to worry about, the important stuff. I just had to worry about making sure that, kids were staying in line or whatever. And he is, as far as I know, going to be there again. I don't know if he's going to be a speaker or not, but I know that he's going to be there again. And then I haven't, obviously Skeptic's going to be there. And then so is, Holy Kool-Aid. He's going to be there. I say, by the way, when I say your friend Dillahunty, it's because,
this makes me laugh so much because you're salty. So funny. So funny that I get so much joy out of this.
Matt Dillahunty sent her a friend request.
He did.
The day after we were talking, sat down, had a full length on. She wasn't even in the room, right? Because this is when we went. This was last year. Whenever Noah and Heath and Jersey, come on, what the hell's his name? But they were all here, and I was sitting down talking to Matt, and then Matt just she goes up and sends her a friend request on Facebook, and I'm just like, oh, really, Matt, really?
Well, also, okay, in my defense, I had already met Matt numerous times.
I'm aware.
Numerous times.
I know.
He knew who I was, and I'm 90% sure you had already gotten rid of Facebook. Yeah, you already got rid of Facebook at that point.
Did I? Okay, I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah.
No, I don't think I did. I don't know.
You got rid of Facebook like December of 18.
No, it was January last year. I remember.
So then, yeah.
Okay, fine, whatever. And so I was. So he's gonna be there. I don't know who else.
I'm not sure. I don't think they've released a list of who's supposed to be there yet.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of, oops. I just people I know that are gonna make it down there.
Yeah.
Whether they're gonna be speakers
people
or
who
not,
have confirmed.
Honestly, it would be, in my opinion, if you don't give, Surus and Paulogia a chance to get up there again. These are two folks in Prophet Azad that were evangelical and very fundamentalist and young Earth creationists and stuff. Last year, of course, is where we met Rose and the ex-Jehovah's Witness. I forget his name now. I'm doing really bad with names right now.
Not your witness?
Telltale Atheist.
Oh, yeah.
And
I was also thinking of X-Cult Baby too.
Yeah, I think she's up.
X-Cult Baby was there.
Yeah, yep, and I think she's looking to try to come this year. She's up there in the Cleveland area, so.
Nice.
Old Mally the Mally Peck. He says, since my name is in the title. Yeah, we appreciate that. But that's where we met, Telltale and Rose last year, and we're going to see them again. We're going to see them in April.
Are they going to spring game?
Even if they're not, they're in Lincoln.
That's true.
So I should have spoken with them before I got the tickets earlier today. It's not like I can't go back and get more, but so yeah,
we are staying in a fancy hotel for that, so I'm very excited.
We are going to have sex in a fancy hotel. I am
fairly
excited for that. So, but yeah, and then of course Stephen Wright says, "Holy Kool-Aid breaks the walls, but divinely."
Exactly.
I will send him that for you. He and I spoke. Oh gosh, it's probably been 5 or 6 months ago. This is the last time we spoke.
Yeah.
And then I talked to genetically modified skeptics lives down the road from us, by the way. And
not anymore.
Where do you live now? You go to Austin?
Drew moved to Dallas, or not to Dallas, to Austin.
Drew moved to Austin.
Yeah.
Don't tell him I didn't
recently.
know. Okay, I was like, I didn't know.
Recently, it was super recent.
Yeah, I haven't been keeping up with that apparently, but I did know that. Yeah, and of course we're going to be able to see Jamie again. I do miss Jamie. These,
Yeah.
I'm very happy to have gotten to know a lot of really great people in our community, and we don't always agree,
Right.
but
You and I don't even always agree.
nope, nope. I mean,
You know what's
she's a Jesus mythicist. So
not a hardline mythicist? You always throw that one out there. I'm not a hardline mythicist. I can't debate it. I just have my serious doubt.
I'm not asking you to debate it.
Anyway,
You're
you know
good.
what's funny? What's funny is going back to the people thing. I remember when Eric Murphy moved to Austin because it just happened to be at a taping of the Atheist Experience that I went to. He was like, I just moved here. I don't know anybody. And I was dating a guy named Eric at the time, and I was just all like, oh my God, that's my boyfriend's name and stuff like that. And I'm wanting to say, I'm gonna look in my phone really quick and see if I still have it.
She's gonna go through the phone there. Um,
I'm gonna see if I still have it.
Of course, Steven says ditto. I'm guessing that's to the fact that you've met a lot of great people, and that's one of the things that whenever I had, because as we're winding down the stream here, and again, thanks to those of you that stayed for as long as you have to watch. It really does matter to us, and it means a lot to us. One of the things that we like to let you folks know is that we do this not just because we really enjoy it, but we do. We enjoy really every aspect of this. If we didn't, we wouldn't have spent, oh my gosh, we spent a lot of money on really making this.
Yeah.
And we have more to go.
Yeah.
But we also do it because we know that there are folks out there that might feel alone. And especially if you are in the American South more than anywhere else. Not to say that it's not that you can't take that if you're anywhere but the American South. But if you are a secular person in the American South, it can be really difficult. If you are a person who is an atheist and doesn't want to tell anybody because there's a reprisal, that's a real thing. I know that. Or if you are leaning and you're a bit skeptical of things, it can be difficult to kind of process those things. And I understand that as a person who went through that for years. Mm-hmm. And there's also things that we go through, not just as secular people, but also as people in general. We go through things and we start to learn more about ourselves. Mm-hmm. And when we do that, it can be very difficult. It's a very emotional time. Hey, it's good to see you, Melanie. And during that emotional time, there are times where we feel like we are alone. Mm-hmm. And like we feel as though we don't matter. It feels like I'm reminded of some of the music from the Broadway show Dear Evan Hansen, which if you don't know what that is, I do recommend looking into it because it's very, very, very emotional. Where he says, "I'm on the outside, always looking in." And then he says, "Why would I want to?" And this isn't the exact words, but why would I want to go back out into the sun if all I ever do is get burned? And it's more one of those where it's like a defeatist type of thing. And I know how that can feel, and I can tell you that I know that Susan does too. There are times where both of us sit there and wonder why we're doing anything, because it's not having an effect and nobody's listening and we don't matter. And I can tell you that we go through that, and we just went through how many different people that we know and we get to hang out with sometimes on a regular basis. And when that happens, Susan and I talk to each other. Mm-hmm. And we lift each other up. And we let each other know that we are both important, that we both matter in amazing ways, because we each have goals in our lives, and we each believe in each other to achieve those goals. And I want you to know that if you, not even necessarily right now, but if you have in the past, or if you recurringly feel as though you don't matter and that the things you are going through are too difficult, I want you to know, first off, that you do matter. And that, yes, there are things that are difficult, and I know that. Again, we deal with it every day. But I want you to know that it will be okay. And I also want you to know that every single person that we mentioned, not just ourselves, but every single person that we mentioned in our secular community that we've had the opportunity and the great fortune to know will listen. You can send me a message. You can send Susan a message. You can reach out to us. If you live around here, I will literally drive to where you would like to meet and sit down so I can listen to you, so you can talk. But I want you to know there's nothing that you can't overcome. Whether it be sometimes the things that we have done to ourselves, because we do make decisions sometimes that aren't necessarily positive, or things that we have faced in our lives that aren't our fault, or relationships, or leaving religion, or possibly considering the fact that we might be leaving religion. There is, in my life, nothing more fearful for me than when I left. And I can tell you that I know that. And here I am today. The fear was there and it was real for me. Because yes, I know what it means. But we have to be open with ourselves, honest. And then we have to understand, and I'm telling you that you are strong enough to make it through whatever it is. And if you don't feel strong enough, reach out to me. And if you don't, even if it's just to do what other people have done and write me long ass messages. I had somebody the other day that I read it to Susan. It wrote me, it's a Christian person who I have had nothing but debates with, that wrote me a message and was heartfelt. Feel free to do that. Know that you have a support structure, that you do, that you have people that care. That we have a community of people that absolutely will help you in whatever way we can, even if sometimes it's to refer you to somebody else. So I just want you to know that. And I want you to know that I care. And I look forward to seeing and meeting as many people as I possibly can along the journey that Susan and I take together, and learning about you. And I want to learn. You get to see for, I'm super sorry that you get to see my face every, if you watch us every week. But I want to meet you. And I want to know who you are. And then that way I can tell you face to face even again that while it may be difficult, it's going to be okay. So.
Aww.
Well, I think that that is about it for us tonight. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm very sleepy.
Yeah. We're looking at probably Wednesday though, right?
Hopefully.
Yeah. Hopefully a Wednesday evening here. This is an exciting time for us, and it's an exciting time. We're getting into spring again, pretty close to that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're up north, you're like, what? It's February, bro.
We've had one winter, but what about second winter?
Yes. It's a Hobbit reference.
Basically hobbits, yeah.
And but we will be back on Wednesday, and thank you very much to those of you that commented. There were a lot of you that did that, and that matters to us as well, because we like and we seek interaction with you folks. And again, if you have any ideas about some things we should add to the show, if you think that some of the things we've done so far are just horrible, and Harry says, what time on Wednesday? Susan?
I mean, ideally 7:30.
Central Time, yes.
Ideally.
We should be okay with that on Wednesday. I believe.
Now that you know how to add my microphone.
I believe that we have our Unpacked event on Tuesday, and that's for Samsung. And it should be, yeah, you're welcome, Harry. Thank you. And I appreciate your comment as well. The next show is obviously, this is, if you like things about it, send us a DM on Twitter. You can, Divine Disbelief on Twitter. You can email us, divinedisbelief@gmail.com. As well as, if you have any news articles, who knew? Thanks so much. If you have any news articles that you think we might have missed, that you think are important, even if they're like the past year or something like that, you can send them to us, and we will take a look at them. And those, because all that stuff is important. And we're also going to be, we're looking at a couple of other things that we might be adding as well. So this is all very exciting, and of course, it's always evolving. So, and Susan, any final words there?
No, just that I'm very sleepy.
All right, she's very sleepy, so we're going to do that.
2.5 hours past my bedtime.
And it is. All right, everybody, have a wonderful night, and we will talk to you soon.
Yeah. Bye.